Welcome, everybody, to South Detroit Dynasty Podcast. Today, we're going to talk about the rookie auction drafts and where we place guys, who we think are going to go high. And I think we're just going to basically do a small little mock draft here for a couple of rounds and see who me, the Batch, and Tommy Gunn take. I'm JR, and welcome to the segment.
So when we're looking at this, we do a full encompassing rookie draft. So this is everyone. It's not just offensive players on the board. We have defensive players on the board as well. I personally have my rankings up to about 104 guys so far. It's super fun doing these drafts, and you will see some variance on how we project guys. Landing spot means a lot. College production means a lot. Injury history means a lot. But this is a really fun segment. So we're going to do what? How many teams?
We do 14 teams in our league, so we're going to obviously assume 14 teams because Tom needs a little bit of help with his draft.
That's it.
So let's kick her off. I'm going to give you guys some positions. It'll be some random positions, and we'll decide, who you're going to take at those positions, and we'll do, 3-4 rounds?
Yeah, sure.
Mock draft?
Yep.
All right, so, Ian, I need 3 numbers from 1 to 14. Jesse will be the first one, Tom will be the second one, I'll be the third one. Shoot.
7, 10, 5.
Okay, so I'm first at 5, then Jesse's at 7, then Tom is at 10.
My actual draft position in both my leagues.
Oh, I hate this. This is easy for you then. 5, 7, 10.
14-team league?
This is a 14-team league.
IDP?
IDP included.
Auction? South Detroit rules? South Detroit rules?
South Detroit rules.
Okay.
No auction, obviously.
No auction. But
This is the rookie draft.
Our league is we have auction component.
So once again, we're drafting at these spots. In your actual rookie draft, you may be drafting for positional need, so it might vary from what we're going to do. This is assuming, a pretty balanced roster, and we're going to go based on the talent available on the board at each spot we're selecting.
Great.
So a couple of things with me at 5. Number 1, I would either try and trade up or I would try and trade back. The 5 spot is a very tough spot, but it depends on how it falls. I still love myself some running backs. There's 3 running backs in here that I really, really like, which is obviously your Josh Jacobs, your Miles Sanders, and your David Montgomery. If somebody got greedy and hopped in and grabbed DK Metcalf in 4-spot or 3-spot or an A.J. Brown, and David Montgomery slid to me, that would be the pick that I would take. But right now, looking at the board where it is, I'm taking DK Metcalf. That's the guy at 5. And we're moving on to 7 to Jesse.
Okay, so at 7, I've got a few guys here that I'd be contemplating. Personally, for me, I'm going to go with an offensive skill position because we're in the first round. It's just where you're getting your most value. Your defense is probably going to slide to late second, early third. What I'd be looking at right now is maybe a Hollywood Brown, Deebo Samuel sitting there as well. But my pick where I'd be going is with Mecole Hardman, KC.
So reach.
I
like that.
It's a reach, but I see opportunity. We talked about it before in a different segment. I think that Tyreek Hill's gone, and they went out and they grabbed their burner.
It all comes down to Mahomes. Just
Yes.
like you said in the other segment.
Yeah.
It all comes down to Mahomes. I agree 100% with this. Tom, what do you got at 10?
A trade?
You trading up or you trading down?
I would have traded up.
Okay.
I would have traded up to try and get DK Metcalf.
Okay, so I'm at 5.
Okay.
What are you going to give me in this trade? You're going to give me the 110, and what else are you going to give
Well,
me?
since football is such a cerebral, if fantasy football is such a cerebral sport, I would have offered you my 10th round, my 10th pick overall, and I would have started with a bag of used hockey pucks.
Gotta do the dance. Gotta do the dance.
See what happens.
I hate these guys. I offer the straight up, honest to God, equal trade, and they offer me hockey pucks. Oh, man.
I would say, my 10th overall and a 4th rounder. Let's start with that.
And what are
Yeah.
you coming back with?
Your first and second. Your second's late, too. It's 210, so,
My first and second this year.
yeah. You're
Is there-
moving,
is there a
you're moving
guy-
up to number 5. Is there a guy that you're going to
Is
get?
DK enough for you? If you like that, will you be willing to give up that second?
This is Dynasty. I would.
And let me say, the only reason why I would do this deal is because Herdman's still on the board.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I would do this deal. I'd be
I thought he took him.
No, but I have the 105. So
I
we
see.
would have did this beforehand.
Okay.
So Herdman's still on the board. That's the only reason why I would do the deal.
And he's thinking 10.
I'm thinking
is a
10.
great spot.
Well, I have Herdman ranked 11, right?
Yeah. He's thinking.
So, yeah.
He's thinking this is the guy. I screwed that up, but he doesn't know this yet.
Right.
You're doing this deal. We're in live draft.
Yep.
And you said, I don't like anything at 110. What can I need 105 because I see a guy I like.
Yep.
Would you do it? Would you do it if he came back and said, you're first and second?
It's second this year. I would have.
What if I said first, second, and I give you first, fourth?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Then we did the deal.
Yep.
So Tom ends up getting DK Metcalf. Right?
Yep.
Look at the smile on his face.
I'm happy.
Tom gets DK Metcalf. You end up going Herdman. I'm very sad at this point.
And you've swapped. Now you also have an additional second.
I have an additional second.
And he's got a fourth.
At the 210.
I go have a beer while you guys continue.
You have that. 405. So we made a deal sitting here. So now,
Laugh when Herdman gets taken. Laugh.
so I think I come back at 10.
This is what Tom was looking at. That's
Yeah.
why he traded
So,
you.
You know, I hope at that point, because Herdman's pushed down, that leaves Deebo Samuel.
Yep.
I'm going to take Deebo Samuel. Because Herdman jumps from 11 into 7, and then it pushes them all down. And it leaves me with a pick of either A.J. Brown, Paris Campbell, Marquise Brown, or Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel's the latest one there, so I'll just assume that I'm getting Deebo Samuel. So I take Samuel.
Okay. Now we are going to be coming back into round 2, where
Yeah,
Jared
where
has the pick again.
Where I just got some value.
Yeah.
So I'm 205.
So that puts us at player 19.
I hope at this spot Andy Isabella falls to me. He's ranked 17 right now. I hope he falls to me. I hope other guys jump in and want running backs, because that's traditionally what ends up happening. I agree with you. I still don't see any defensive players going at this point.
Yep.
There's no top-bred defensive linemen. Linebackers are a different story, but there's a lot to be had for linebackers.
So second, you're talking the
Second round. Beginning of second.
oh, beginning of second round.
Yeah, I'm at 205 right now. But if I'm looking
Who's still left on the table?
So is Kyler Murray gone yet?
Yeah.
Kyler Murray is gone.
So Kyler Murray is gone.
So I can't make another
How
trade
about
with Tom.
how about tight ends? Are the 2 tight ends gone?
2 tight ends are gone.
So the 2 tight ends are gone.
Okay.
Kyler Murray's gone.
Smith is still there.
A.J. Brown's gone.
Yep.
We got a bunch of guys that are gone here in between. Hollywood Brown's gone.
Kareem Butler's gone. Whiteside's gone. Isabella's gone. Your next wide receivers that you're looking at are sort of like Kelvin Harmon, Johnson from Pittsburgh,
Yep.
Miles Boykin,
Yep.
Baltimore.
Johnson would be a good pick.
So I think I'm actually going to take Devin Singletary at
Okay.
this spot. He's ranked 20th, so I'm reaching a little bit, or Justice Hill for Baltimore. But I
Yep.
think I'm going to go with Singletary at the 105 and get another running back to sit on, just in case nothing happens in Buffalo, and I have that guy, right?
Yep. So my pick coming up next, I'd be torn between 2 guys who actually maybe 3 that I would still see on the board. Like Tom just said, I'd be looking at Deontay Johnson because I think he just Steelers draft good wide receivers and make them better than they were.
Plus, you love the Steelers.
Yeah, that always helps. So I'm looking at him. Justice Hill that you just mentioned, I could see having a very big role in Baltimore as a pass-catching back. And the last name that I would assume is there is Damian Harris. This could be very early on him, and you're getting into that Patriots kind of
It's actually
minefield.
not early on him. He's actually taken before me. He's right after Andy Isabella at number 18.
Is he?
Mm-hmm.
So those are the three names I'm kind of looking at here. I went wide receiver, so that kind of inclines me to look at running back as a futures prospect. I think I would grab Damian Harris if it's there, but for the sake of this, I'm going to go Justice Hill. Just because I could see him being James White-esque, where he's catching 70 balls a season. If we're in South Detroit Dynasty rules, we're in full-point PPR, and that is a huge upside. It's going to come down to can he pass block. If he can pass block and he's on the field enough, Justice Hill is my guy.
So I moved up to Tom's spot, so I'm at 24 now. And I'm looking at a couple of guys. Kelvin Harmon, if he's still there. Irving Smith Jr., if he's still there. But my guy, if all those guys are gone, like it projects that they're going to be gone, I'm doing a little bit of a reach, and this is a stash guy. I'm going to take Rodney Anderson.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Rodney Anderson at this spot. I've already got a good running back with Singletary. I already got a decent wide receiver with Deebo Samuel. So I'm going to go another running back, and I'm going to stash him for a while. It's going to be Rodney Anderson.
Jer stashing running backs.
That's a surprise.
Yes, it is. Out of character. So we flip back to you again.
So we come all the way down, and now we're at 33.
Yep.
Well, I think I'm going to get myself a quarterback, and I think I'm going to take Drew Lock, and I think I'm going to sit on him also for a little while.
I'm assuming Haskins off the table by
Haskins
that
off the table by this point, so you're looking at Locker, Daniel Jones, and I'm going to take Drew Lock.
So then after
I
that,
may be inclined to take one of the Devons, the linebackers. I may be inclined at this point to probably do that. You know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a linebacker. I'm going to take Pittsburgh's linebacker so that Jesse can't get him.
Gun.
And I'm going to take Devin Bush.
And then I'm going to hope that didn't trigger the next guy in between us to take Devin White.
Okay.
Because then I would be snapping him up. If he's not available, though, because I could really see that happening, where that first linebacker goes and then the second one, because they're in a tier of their own this year.
Yep.
Those two, and then it kind of drops off, and you can get guys still. But so I'm going to assume that they both went, and then I'm going to look at Nick Bosa, and I'm going to take Nick Bosa.
Tom's not happy about having the 10th pick now.
I would have already had. If I still had those picks, defensive players would have flown off the board in the second round.
Really?
Yeah, I would have.
That's way too early. In something like the NRA, or you're right, if we're in the South Detroit where they have a rookie pay scale, yes, you're 100% right. But if we're looking at the Bettis League or if we're looking at the Lions Den, it's the third round.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Because you're paying $3.5 million to bring them up.
If you want a 5-year.
Yeah, if you want a 5-year.
Yeah.
But that's what you're going to want on these guys.
Yeah, you want these guys. If you're that's the sort of capital you're spending.
Yeah.
You want them for many years.
100%.
Right?
And that's the whole thing. Now, when you get into it with the rookie pay scales that we have set up in the other two leagues, that's a different story. Because you're still paying $6 million for a running back or a wide receiver at this point. Meanwhile, you're only paying like $2.8 or $3 million for a linebacker.
So, quick digression here. The way we run our leagues, it's not just you pick these guys. They're on your taxi squad. They all come up for the same value. We have a scale of you have to pay these guys. There's a salary cap. Everything is involved. It's much more complex. We have it where if you're drafting a guy in the first round, you're paying more than the guy you draft in the second round. And then if you go to the third round, now you're getting into where they're relatively inexpensive. So that's why when we're talking about drafting a linebacker in the second as opposed to the third, there's a huge difference because you're bringing them up at a dollar value that's in line with the rest of the linebackers from your auction drafts or anything like that. So this is where there's maybe a tiny bit of discrepancy and where we need to clarify just a little bit. There is a pay scale involved with this.
Yeah, I mean, there is. And there's a lot of nuances in the way we do things with front end and backloading salaries and offer sheets and franchise tags, the whole deal. So, but you can visit our website for more stuff and more information on that if you're interested in the rules we use. But to get back to my pick, I guess I would take, is Josh Allen still on the board?
Yeah.
310, I'll take Josh Allen.
I think he actually got defensive end designation.
Did he?
He did.
So he's defensive end designation, which is huge.
Shh, you're not supposed to share that. Like we said before in previous, always check the designations, guys.
Because he came out in the draft as edge. So you're looking, it's either linebacker or it's going to be defensive end. Massive difference in where the value as him as a defensive end is massive.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Khalil Mack is listed as a linebacker, and that hurts him so bad. If he was listed as a defensive end, he would be a $4 million guy all day long in our pricing.
You want him everywhere.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, well, I actually looked yesterday. I didn't see. Yeah, he went to defensive end. You're right. So yeah, for sure then.
So what are we in the fourth round now?
I went through this list yesterday. I just didn't pick that up.
Yeah.
So we're at.
And Montez Sweat went from Sweet. How do you pronounce the name?
Sweat.
He went from defensive end to linebacker.
Yes,
too.
he did.
So that's a big.
He dropped.
Too. Yeah.
Tom, you're at 405.
405. I will.
Overall pick
We
number.
don't dress kickers, so
47.
47.
It is such.
Want to trade out of this spot?
No, is Bruce Anderson still there from the Bucks?
Oh yeah.
If he is, I'll take Bruce Anderson. I'll reach for him. I'll take Bruce Anderson.
Bruce Anderson.
And
Jesse.
my theory with these guys is that, like, people talk about draft stock. There was not much draft stock put into most of these guys this year. They were low picks. So let's see what happens with some of these. Have some fun with it. Take a chance.
So now it comes to me. I've kind of filled out a lot of positions of need. Now I'm just kind of looking around. Is there any value left on the board? I'd probably be looking at a safety in this round, potentially. But if a guy is dropped far enough, I don't know if they'd be there, but like a Gurley backup in Henderson.
Oh, he's gone.
He would have gone off the board already.
Yeah.
You mean the starter for the Rams?
How about Bryce Love?
Gone.
He's
in
gone
the
as well.
second round. Yeah.
Second?
Yeah, he was actually higher than Rodney Anderson.
So let me take a look right now at what I'm looking at offensively. So offensively, it's showing me a bunch of guys that I don't know about at all. So I would kind of be looking at, do I like Hunter Renfrew?
See, I really think the third and fourth rounds are going to be filled with defensive players.
I do too. And that's why I sit here and I'm looking at, even the Lions linebacker that they drafted this year, because he's going to get a chance. You got a bunch of guys. I personally am going to go safety with either Chauncey Gardner-Johnson or who's another DB that potentially could be there, Marquise Blair. If Marquise Blair is still there, I think I'm drafting him. A long shot would be Jonathan Abram. I think he'd be off the board by now. But we'll go Marquise Blair.
We'll come back to you, Tom.
I guess I would take the next available best defensive linebacker. So if Bobby Okereke is there, would he still be around?
Yeah.
I'd take him.
And then an offensive guy I would have been looking at in this round. I spent my first pick on a wide receiver, so I don't know as much, but I'm pretty sure he'd be there, is David Sills. A big name for me because the Steelers were scouting him very hard coming out this year. They didn't actually take him. They took that Deontay Johnson instead.
David Stills is basically right in where you and Tom would have been picked.
Yeah, who do you go to? Was it Buffalo?
Buffalo, yeah.
So Buffalo needs a big guy like that. They have a couple of burners and all that, but David Stills, I believe, is about 6'3", 225. He's a good possession receiver. Josh Allen might develop some quick chemistry with this guy. He might be you're in the 4th round now, so this could be a guy that you're looking at a year or two down the road. But David Sills is a guy I would have been looking at pretty hard as well in that area.
Yeah, for sure. One of the guys that I would have been looking at, and I would have been reaching a little bit, would have been little Jordan Humphrey.
Great name.
Yeah. So just something like that if I was still in this round, but I traded out, and I think I did okay. So just to recap, I ended up getting Deebo Samuel. I ended up getting Singletary. I ended up getting Rodney Anderson, and then I ended up getting Devin Bush. Jesse, you got Hardman. You got Justice Hill. You got Bosa, and then you got Blair.
Yeah.
Tommy, you got DK Metcalf. You got Allen. You got Bruce Anderson. And who was your last pick?
Linebacker.
Yeah.
There.
I can't remember his name now. I just had it. I just lost it.
Not Cashman, right?
Okereke.
Okereke, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
From the Colts.
Bobby.
So when you're doing these drafts, like you're going to get to this point where you're really just going to start taking flyers, and if you're going to go really in depth, landing spot's huge, and then draft capital, because I had a situation last year that arose, and the guy sitting beside me, who's a buddy of mine, really had no idea what to do past about the end of round 2, and I believe he was in round 3, and he's just looking at a list online, basically the NFL draft. And I'd said, look at draft capital, man. Because he's looking at names and he's pointing at guys in the 4th round of the NFL draft. And I'm going, no, man. If you're going defense at this point, start looking at the NFL draft and looking where. So he ended up taking Terrell Edmonds from the Steelers. He got a safety. That's a 1st-round pick. That team is somewhat committed
to that guy, yeah.
to developing this player, because they don't want to look stupid to the brass.
Yeah.
So even if he doesn't have the greatest skill set, he's going to get a shot. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's something you got to look at. So you talk about draft capital, and I was making some notes yesterday. So everyone's hot and heavy for what's his name there? Sanders, right?
Yeah.
From the Eagles.
Yep,
Yep.
Miles Sanders.
So he's picked number 53 overall, right? However, the Eagles, so he wasn't the first running back taken. The Eagles thought that offensive tackle Andre Dillard would have more of an impact on their team than Sanders would. Now, not only that, 4 picks later, they picked up Arcega Whiteside, right?
Yes.
As a wide receiver. So they value those two picks almost identical, the running back and the wide receiver. So if you're looking for somebody, if you really think that Miles Sanders is going to have an impact, then you got to think Whiteside's going to have an impact, because he's picked right after him by the same team. They could have flip-flopped. So, or the question is, are these guys reaching, and Sanders going to be part of a committee with Howard? And is Whiteside someone that there is going to take a couple years to develop? I don't know. But, I mean, there's something you got to look at, is where they're picked and who's picked ahead of them by the same team. So even Josh Jacobs went to the Raiders, right? But with their first pick overall, they took a defensive player.
Yeah.
Or their first pick in the draft, not overall. First pick. So a lot of these offensive guys, this wasn't the draft, I think it was 2013, where it was like
Even last year with
name
Barkley,
after name
right?
after name that went that made it, man. Like,
And not only that, some of these guys, you saw huge discrepancy between draft experts.
yeah,
You could have Hakeem Butler. One guy has him 5th. Another guy has him 18th.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there. So, like Tom's saying here, there's times where you have to look. Another thing that I sometimes take a little mental note of: did they try to jump in front of somebody to get this guy?
yeah.
Did they make a trade? Did they move a little extra capital just to get this guy? And how does that fit in? Because one of the craziest situations for me, and that's why I was wondering if he's still on the board, but Darrell Henderson, they just matched an offer sheet from the Lions to keep Malcolm Brown to back up Gurley. And then they go out and they draft a running back with a pretty high pick in terms of how running backs go. So who is the backup there?
Well, it's not even that. The other guy that they have that's young there, Tom had ranked so high a year or two ago that if the landing spot would have been better, he'd have been taking him in the first round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was John Kelly, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've had this discussion with Tom. Tom was like, yeah, if John Kelly went to a better landing spot, I would have been taking him close to the first round.
Yeah.
So they have John Kelly. They have the guy that they matched.
Yeah.
They have Henderson. And you have Gurley's knees.
Yes. The knees. He actually he was actually a guy that I was going to include on an earlier segment of Swing Guys was Todd Gurley, because he was drafted. His draft position right now is running back 6. Running back 6 for Todd Gurley. In the last 2 seasons, he's averaged 20 touchdowns a year and about 1,900 scrimmage yards. And he's running back 6.
Yep.
How concerned are we about these knees?
Okay, so history is. I think you got to learn history so you don't make the same mistakes again, right? Repeat it, right? So if you go back to the 2013 NFL draft, and you just start looking at the first pick overall was Eric Fisher, offensive tackle, Central Mich. Luke Jokel, offensive tackle. Deion Jordan, defensive end. Lane Johnson. Ziggy Ansah was number 5. You get down to the first offensive player was Tavon Austin, 8th overall. Huge draft capital.
Bust,
right?
Yeah.
Who else we have here? Let's see. The next one. There. There he is. He just retired, I think. Where'd he go?
2013. Just retired.
E.J. Manuel.
Yeah.
E.J. Manuel, right?
Yeah.
So, draft capital.
Yep.
Stunk. So, look at where these guys were picked this year. This is the same thing. Tyler Eifert, Notre Dame. He's still around.
He's a polarizing guy, too.
Yeah, because he's hurt all the time.
Yeah. Can he stay healthy?
Then you finally get to DeAndre Hopkins, number 27 pick overall. Where would he rank now? And how did they, it's just interesting. And then Cordell Patterson.
But it's also needs of teams, right? Like,
sure.
That's the whole thing. Like, it's every year it's different needs of teams. Like, you'll see some teams need running backs galore, and that year will be very, very prosperous for running backs.
Well, it's what I did here with Hardman. I'm taking him because of a team's need.
Yeah, but he's scary as hell because he's
scary.
He's just like Tavon Austin.
Yeah,
he could come out and
is he any good? We don't know. He was probably a guy before landing spot was probably wide receiver 15 to 20.
Sure.
On most boards.
Sure.
And now I just took him with the 7th pick in a rookie draft.
Yep.
Just because of landing spot.
You're nuts.
Yeah. And my big thing with what I try to do in dynasty drafts is take the best player available. Whether you have 2 or 3 of them at the same position, who cares? Mm-hmm. I got mocked relentlessly because I was at the end of the second round. I had 3 draft picks in a row.
Here we go.
Right?
Yeah.
So I picked Patrick Mahomes, I picked Deshaun Watson, and I picked Mitchell Trubisky. And they was just hammered. They just all hammered me, right? And what happened? I've had every team almost has made me a trade offer for those guys. I have Mahomes and Watson at this ridiculously low salary because that league, the salary is low. And I turned Trubisky around and upsold him for a better pick and a better player. Then I turned around and got Lamar Jackson last year at the same team. Traded him again to dump a salary and to upgrade at another pick. So take the best player. If you have the best player, whoever it is at whatever position, somebody's going to come calling for it. And not only that, Patrick or Deshaun Watson can sit on my bench all year. Those are points that no one else can draft. If you're now playing quarterback 16 because you can't get Deshaun Watson, I'm probably getting 10 more points than you.
I took the best player. His name was Laquan Treadwell. How'd that pan out?
Yeah.
And this is a really awesome point.
You took the best player, Josh Doxson. How's that panned out?
Yeah, that was the year before, and that was another terrible year. Terrible. Kamara sat there till like the 10th or 12th pick overall, and he was the best, probably the
No,
best.
no, that was the year after that.
Oh, was the year after that?
Year after that, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
that was a bad year.
No, we were talking about the Zeke Elliott year, where then it came off the board. Treadwell, Doxson, and there's one other guy there that panned out to do nothing.
But what you're saying is such a huge point. When you have a deep taxi squad, there is no problem with that.
Yep.
Because the offers will roll in.
Yep.
Or you can just bring them up. You know, you have an expiring contract next year. You don't really have room for both. Well, at least that guy's not going up against you every year. You know, you're sitting on him. And other people, I will guarantee you, will come calling.
Yep.
You know, because you have this wealth of talent just sitting there ready to come up. Well, other teams are struggling to fill that third wide receiver position, that backup running back type position, whereas you are just sitting there looking at just pure talent. Like I believe, Tom, even on one of your teams, you had like Juju Smith-Schuster, sitting there for the year because you just don't know. In that first year, is a flash in the pan? I don't know, because there's no cap penalty to have him sitting on your taxi squad.
No, not with the South Detroit Dynasty rules. No.
You know, so you have, I believe, what is it, 3 or 4 years in South Detroit?
4.
4 years that a guy can sit there penalty-free on your taxi squad. So if you build that depth, there could even be a year where you just call them all up.
Yeah.
You just build that depth, let contracts expire, trade away in your seasons, and then that following year, you just bring up all your talent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, somebody might be doing that.
What do you mean?
Well, it's part of the beauty of Dynasty, right? You can build. You're building a team, and you're trading current assets now to get draft picks or whatever future talent, right?
It's honestly, we will talk about this many times throughout the show, but it's such a beautiful game to play when there's this much control. Redraft, don't get me wrong, have a blast playing it, but it's just that 1 year, one off. You're looking for things. You're looking seasons ahead.
Yep.
You're looking at potential. You're looking at replacing guys. You're looking at contract structures. You're looking at everything, and it's truly, what would you say, 10 months of the year?
We play 10 months of the year.
10 months of the year.
Yeah.
And if you love football as much as we love football, you love seeing those offers in April. Trade offers coming in. You open your email. It might be garbage. Still fun to see.
Yeah.
Oh, what is it? Oh, okay, this guy's a joker or whatever. Move on to whatever. But it's so fun to have that game always there for you.
Yep. I agree.
So, guys, as we're wrapping this up, you can follow us on Facebook at South Detroit Dynasty Football. You can join our page at South Detroit Dynasty. You can follow us on
Instagram at South Detroit Dynasty Football, and on Twitter at South Detroit Dynasty Football.
And guys, there's so much that we're willing to do for you as listeners. We are going to be willing to help you with startups. We're willing to really help you out through this whole process. We want to show you what Dynasty football really can be.
Yeah, I mean, and redraft leagues, we're willing to help you out on that too, but we actually have a availability where you can use our startup formula and create a new league. We'll help you commission it. We'll help you do everything with it. And, yeah, just shoot us an email.
Yeah, our email is teamsdd@sddfootball.com. Teamsdd@sddfootball.com.